Hey there. Okay, so I was gonna make a totally different video. I just finished working out at the farm earlier today, and I started recording, and then I had to stop the recording because I was like, right before I started, I was like, what an asshole, because I was about to basically rant. I was about to rant. I was about to rant about the economy. I had just heard yesterday that one of our friendly competitors back home, and they had several locations, and they couldn't survive anymore, and they had to shut down. Right, so all these decisions being made by our elected officials are leading to a lot of pain, you know. And I was pissed off. I was pissed off that I decided last night, I was like running the numbers, and I was seeing how much some of our sales of some of our shops declined, and I made the decision to cancel some of the trips that we were gonna do this year. And then right when I was about to start, I'm like, why am I complaining, man? You know, I have no right to complain. I was setting up the shot, and as I'm setting up the shot, I was looking for like a pretty place to do it. So I ended up, setting it up so the horses were behind me. And yeah, I saw well, one of the horses was behind me, and I saw it was Colby. And I like looking at the horses. It's very calming. There was a time where I lived in a big city and I hated it, and I wanted to live somewhere like here, and I wanted to travel full time. And here I was with Colby behind me, and I was working out outside, which was something else I always wanted to do more of. The point is that I was in a place that I dreamed of a couple years ago, because part of the reason part of what led us to start traveling full time and to simplify our businesses was that whenever there was a hard time, whenever there was a recession, we had a brick and mortar store, and we had also a business that catered to like very high-end clientele. Those were the first things that people cut back on, right? The high-end stuff. And then you're stuck with the rent or the mortgage, and all the overhead, and you don't want to fire your employees, or lay them off, I should say. You don't want to lay them off because, you're like, well, this is going to end eventually and I'm going to need them. So it just put you in such a conundrum that's a lot of what led me to, like, I want like something that's very simple and easy for us to pivot. And we're there. And that's not for me to brag at all. In fact, I think a lot of us are assholes. No offense, but we got to realize that the lives that we complain about is someone else's paradise. The house that we want to upgrade, there's other people dreaming of living in that house. The fact that we're in this, bad economy, but we're at least in it in the States, right? And there's some countries that are suffering a lot more. And the fact that now we have this technology that, yeah, it's a lot of the same technology as being used to replace, us. But we could use it as well. Case in point, I ran into this lady at the post office, and she had a whole stack of packages, and she noticed that I did too. And she looked at me, and she goes, damn, big pothole. She looked at me and she said, eBay? And I said, no, most of these are Etsy and Shopify. And then she started talking to me about how she got laid off and she was really worried, and how now she started reselling on eBay, and she was so excited because she was making more than she was in her job, right? So she was able to pivot. She was able to use technology that we have today, apps that we could use to compare prices on eBay and on different places, to make quick decisions and make a new economy for ourselves. So she was so happy. You could tell she was just like dying to tell somebody, you know, and I was just the one there. You know, we talked a little bit and I was very happy for her. But yeah, it made me think. And then it also made me think of Jacob. So he's kind of in this place where he's rethinking things and thinking of writing software for HVAC, right? So I told him, well, I would think first you got to cut your teeth in HVAC, so you might want to take a trade course. And he went on chat, you know, sitting right here next to me, and in a few seconds he knew exactly where he had to go, so that now in the summer he could take a HVAC certification, and start, like, you know, maybe working in HVAC. I don't know. He's still planning, but you know, the fact that technology is available now to him. And one more example, Coursera. That's another one. If you guys don't know about Coursera, it's amazing. Like what's happening is that a lot of like tech companies, especially, they're having a hard time. Like they have to wait for these computer science students to graduate, and even when they graduate, the technology is moving so fast that usually they have to be like retrained, like they're behind, right? And it doesn't pay for them to wait, because again it moves so quickly. So what they started doing, and I'm talking about companies like Google, what they've been doing is they've been creating their own certifications and their own courses with exactly what the skills that the kids need to know. And instead of being a 4-year degree, it's like a 4-month certificate that they can do online. And as soon as they get that certificate, they can go on LinkedIn and put in their certificate, and it'll immediately give them a bunch of job openings with that certificate, you know, that requires that certificate. So yeah, another advantage. So, you know, I don't want to gloss over the bad stuff or gaslight anyone. You know, things are rough, but there's, you know, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, you know. So if you're one of the people that are willing to, you know, to pivot, find mourn your situation, but not for too long, you know, and don't roll up in a corner crying, you know. Figure out what your next step is, because it might actually be something that you like even better. Okay, there might be a day that you say, you know, I'm really happy that I got laid off, because if not, I wouldn't have found, you know, fill in the blank. Anyway, just a thought. You know, try to stay positive and be good to yourself. All right, take care. Bye.